When I was 20, I fell in love with one of the lecturers at my college. His name was Patrick Hammett. He taught courses on Shakespeare, 17th century poetry, and critical theory. I took all of his classes, made him my interpreter of the whole world. When I look at him, it's almost like nobody else is around. He was tall, thin except for a small belly nestled above his belt, nice hair, wearing glasses that worked with his face. If put in a club with others, you wouldn't be able to discern who he was at all, nor would you pick him out to be particularly good looking. But in that classroom, standing with pride, teaching us of works he respected, his force was something that I always felt, like velvet against my skin. Of course, I didn't have a chance with him. Who was I? Nobody. I wasn't an average student by any means, but I knew I didn't exist for him outside of those chairs in that classroom. He was only 6 or 7 years older than we were, but his life seemed to be made of different stuff than the lives I was familiar with. As far as I knew, he wasn't married or living with anyone. Someone said that he once had a relationship with a student, although this was against the rules. That didn't make me any more hopeful. She was probably beautiful. I didn't think I was. I was small and blonde with eyes that made the kids at school call me frog face. I was good on a good day. I dreamed about him all the time. Fantasies of us meeting outside of the classroom. How our relationship developed out of acquaintance and into passionate amour. I felt like the author and director of these scenes, like I was dreaming with precision. In these dreams, I made it that he never said something out of place. Like that he had always loved me, or that he had been fascinated with me as soon as I had stepped into his classroom. The dreams can only start with no more than his friendly appreciation of a student, and then blossom into something more. But that's all it was, a place for me to dream. I can imagine us together, whispering sweet nothings into each other's ears, but the memories eventually became hazy. Eventually, I began working at a local pub near college. I'd seen the pub grow and evolve from a small entrance and winding rooms to the walls being knocked down, leaving a huge cavern of an area. It immediately lost atmosphere as it began to suit newer, fashionable tastes. When working there, I began to forget I was a student, until I thought I saw Patrick. A man with his precise build was standing right in front of me, turned around. Although I've thought of plenty of scenarios of meeting Patrick outside of class, this is not the way I wanted it to start. But when he turned around, it was a man who was not Patrick, but looked oddly just like him. Same nose, eyes, but didn't wear glasses. He didn't have Patrick's excitement. I smiled at him and he smiled back. He was shy as I gave him his drink, which gave me a certain pleasure out of the situation. I decided to play while talking to this man as he frequented the bar with his friends. I'd always get the same shock that it wasn't Patrick. He doesn't look just like him, but close enough. And I had realized that I initiated this acquaintance. It got to the point where he couldn't help but ask me if he could give me a lift home from work. I was worried that he would run into my roommates from college, but it never happened. Whenever he'd talk, I would sometimes be pushed away from the illusion I was pursuing, so I'd kiss him and take things further. We'd never go out. We only ever did one thing together for a couple of months before I'd quit my job. Of course, I'd pretend that I was with Patrick, that it was him that was making love to me. Only the pretense was incomplete. Even if I had closed my eyes and didn't look at him directly, when I was mixing the physicality to my fantasies of Patrick, the knowledge that it wasn't him seeped in. This wasn't the real thing. It was only a secondhand enactment of love. I have forgotten to give his name. His name was Dave. A few years have passed. A lot has happened since then. In the end, Patrick Hammett reached out for me. He had somehow said that he had always loved me and that he had been fascinated with me as soon as I stepped into his classroom. My dreams had somehow had merit to them. I'd become the thing that I never thought I would, as I was indulged in fantasy. Patrick's girlfriend, Patrick's wife. Of course, we waited until I finished his classes before we could tell anyone. Those months were the most wonderful months, the secretive months, where I sat in his classroom and engaged in discussion as usual, like there was nothing going on between us. I love Patrick. I think we're a good fit. But I'm not infatuated with him anymore. I never told Patrick about Dave, and I've never seen him since. In conversations with me, he has told me that he worked for a gas company for many years, something that had filtered out of my memories. So I tried to look for it sometimes. I couldn't look him up online because I never knew his last name. I was embarrassed of what I had done with Dave, now being with Patrick. But it kept prodding at my mind like a mystery. I can hardly believe that we made love. I wonder if I'd wasted an opportunity as I longed for him to be someone else the entire time. That little hunger of a lost chance gets expressed in fantasies, which are not heavenly. Nothing magical at all. He is a gas engineer in the fantasy, coming to fix the boiler. We pretend not to know each other. I show him the problem and watch him while he works. I hand him something from his toolbox and our hands touch. I wish he wasn't a gas engineer. It feels like one of those porn films from the 60s where the milkman or postman meets a bored housewife. He has learned the audacity to reach across, through all the mess we make with thinking and talking, through to the body and the body's truth. I cannot believe in this. It is only a dream.